Hi there, I'm Ahsan Ali A. Shaw, and you're watching me on YouTube and Facebook Live, and also in the group Love Virus. Today we are going to talk about fear of change. We have discussed fear and change separately in detail, and fear is an primal human instinctive response. We survive because of our fear instinct. It bewares us about the potential danger. And change is inevitable. Change is happening all the time. And we have discussed in detail that if you want change in your life, then you have to make the change instead of letting the life and other circumstances, society, a family, and other macro environmental factors to make the changes for you. Therefore, you have to take a step. And change is inevitable. Change is the only constant in life. And but when it comes to making the change, whether it is leaving the toxic relationship or the job you hate, then at that time, then when you are at the verge of making the change, then you are scared. You are afraid to take the bold steps. Why? Many people suggest that it is because of our fear of uncertainty. And this fear of uncertainty usually leads towards failure. And we have seen many examples, we come across with many examples of failure in our society. Then it makes us wonder that I don't want to, what if I don't get another opportunity for the next 5 years? What if I don't get the right person? Then I'll stay single. And those sort fearful thoughts, they they limits our ability, they limits our decision making process. And many therapists and professionals, they suggest that you should surround yourself with the supportive people and give yourself a positive feedback and repeat the positive what if feedback, that what if things work out, then it's going to be great, instead of giving yourself the negative feedback what if things don't work out. You should practice with what if things work out. And there are many other therapy uh, example and guidelines that you can check it out on Google. But the question is why we are afraid to make the change. There could be many a reason. And to discuss this topic, my guest is Adrian Sortino. He has joined us from Footscray, Victoria, Australia.
How are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm very well, very well, very well. Great topic you want to talk about.
Yes, and yeah, I think as I recall, a few weeks ago when we were discussing the topic, and I said the fear of uncertainty and the reason we are afraid to make the choice or to make the change in our life is because of the risk factor involved. And what do you see? Do you see risk or something else?
Oh, well, there's like I think it always goes back to the narrative in which we speak, Hassan.
Hmm.
Um, Fear of change in
Hmm.
every part of existence
Hmm.
because we have for a very long time had
Hmm.
dignity stripped. So
Hmm.
if we talk about fear of job, we're in a
Hmm.
job
Hmm.
and then new business takes place or
Hmm.
new owners, whatever it may be, new management,
Hmm.
then there's new rules, then there's new policies, there's new
Hmm.
procedures. So within our own normal structure of life,
Hmm.
we've got so many different ways that fear
Hmm.
of change is put in our pathway.
Hmm.
Because I know with working and managing, it's
Hmm.
different on the floor than to be in the office managing those people on the floor because you're
Hmm.
considering every every element of where they're coming from on a day-to-day basis with family
mhm,
and background to be
mhm,
representing in the best workplace. So the fear of
mhm,
change is not by a strong arm in regards to the management. It's assimilating, and that doesn't happen very often. People are fearful of change for the fact that the dignity in their normal existence of life has been
mhm,
completely diminished. So there's that whole level of understanding that we don't really want to commit to a change
mhm,
because seeing how devastating life is and how it can be stripped away from us straight away.
mhm.
But that's not
What do
good.
you,
That's
what do
not
you,
good.
what do you think about the risk factor? Because I see the when we talk about the change, it involves a plethora of risk because you are living for the time being. Anyone who is going to make a change, and he is accustomed to the comfort zone. We are living in a comfort zone, but the change it doesn't guarantee the success. It could lead towards positive outcome or it could lead towards negative outcome. It could go both ways. So I think the risk is involved to make the
Of
change.
course,
That's why
of course.
we are that's why people are afraid to make the change. People are scared uh, at the decision making process.
Well, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of
Hmm.
things that people would consider. And which change are we talking about? Are we talking
Hmm.
change for a financial betterment?
Hmm.
Are we talking about change for an academic benefit? Are we talking
Hmm.
about change as in a life of what
Hmm.
is preconceived to actually what is deliverable at this point in time?
Hmm.
There's many
Change
things
could
we
be,
all know.
yeah, you are absolutely right. Change has many forms. It could change in ourselves, change in our attitude, change in our lifestyle, or change in the relationship. The, the specifically, I think we should
Okay,
focus on the life
okay,
matter.
okay, okay, okay.
We
Cool,
should,
cool, cool. You've
we should
given me
focus.
the right. You've given me now
Hmm.
the right inclusion to speak
Hmm.
about peace architecture in
Hmm.
regards to change
No,
because many,
no,
many of the
my
yeah,
focus
go on.
is to the lives matter. For instance, is the job or it is the professional or is the relationship. I think that's are the
Yeah,
practical and
okay.
real life
So
experiences.
you've thrown three equations in there, all of
Hmm.
them valid individual aspects of people in their roles that they play within their work environment.
Hmm.
Okay, and let's
Hmm.
speak about roles for the moment
Hmm.
because change has to be from you.
Hmm.
Change has to be nothing apart from what your design of your model is.
Hmm.
Okay. To be fearful of that change, you can't be fearful of the journey in which you're about to take because then it
Hmm.
doesn't give you the faith of self to even commit that journey.
Hmm.
So, in the faith of your design, and that's all that we can talk about, is the design of self. One during
Hmm.
this time, especially now, but
Hmm.
then in hindsight, all of the time, because we've
Hmm.
only ever been relevant to ourselves and had to vary or deviate from where our design was to assimilate to where we arrived to.
Hmm.
Okay, because we have intentions, we have designs that we've created upon ourselves. But then you walk into an environment where they will not even hear you because they haven't given any respect to the voice or the intelligence which you may come with.
Hmm.
It's then that change of fear that I'm not worthy, change of wow, I can't even be myself there. So we have to go
Hmm.
back to a basis. We have to go back
Hmm.
to a base, a foundation. What are we talking about? Are we talking about life as this model, or are we
Hmm.
talking about change to the model in which we are supposed to be?
No, Edwin, my point is that you talk about design. I like it that everyone has a design for himself or herself. Everyone has a design, but that design sometimes doesn't assimilate with the design of the world. So it creates a conflict because then it requires us to make certain changes in the design or to lay out the design in the real life. Then it creates conflict, and the process of change, it is scary.
Well, it's manageable. It's
Mhm,
manageable. It shouldn't be fearful. It shouldn't be daunting because
mhm,
giving respect to your design,
mhm,
the conflict will arrive, but it is then for you to transmute into the
mhm,
intended space of where it's supposed to be. You
mhm,
speak about entering, you speak
mhm,
about bringing something to a place, and then there's conflict because it's not part of the design.
mhm,
This is what peace architecture is. It's
mhm,
maintaining the patience that the
mhm,
design is in truth,
mhm,
not for any other intention. It is
mhm,
within truth of you and your knowing. And if
mhm,
you can do it to any deliverable form, be it building a computer, be it building a car, be it growing a garden,
mhm,
it's the intuitive knowledge that we have that allows us
mhm,
to get the foot in the door in the first place. Because
mhm,
we are there, we do not have to actually extend to the pace of what they are running at. Because there is a lot of
mhm.
confusion and conflict within the environment that you're about to arrive to. So
Yes.
therefore, that should not be attached to you with the
Mhm,
clarity that you have of your design. Everybody will be
mhm,
given a moment. It's just that when you want your moment to be heard, it might not be the time that everybody wants to listen to it.
mhm.
So
So
therefore,
you
you have to have yes.
so you mean to say that you should one should has a clarity of its own design.
Say that again.
One should has a clarity of its own design.
One should have a clarity of their own design. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Only
Because
then they would be able to manage the risk or the fear or whatever it is.
it's fear. It's not
Mhm,
whatever it is. It's fear, but it's
mhm,
fear of worthiness, and it's fear that nobody has considered that you've got any validity, which again is worthiness. So when you slow it down and allow
mhm,
your design to manifest in the silence of yourself, in the
mhm,
respect of what you're creating,
mhm,
the time does not matter
mhm,
because it'll remain within the purest of intention for you to
mhm,
actually create that point of assimilation that
mhm,
you just walk it every moment. So people will be then, oh, what are you doing? Why is that? How's that? Who's that? Okay.
mhm,
Then you give the explanation. Then you
mhm,
got the opportunity for what that change was always going to be.
mhm.
And a change is only one moment for
Mhm.
you to hear your voice
Hey,
or
Jackie.
have your voice being heard or listened to.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. Now, what would you suggest that the person is going through a change? He has a conflict and fear. So, how should one deal with that fear of change?
Well, the first thing is everything, every idea that you have starts with a breath.
Mhm,
You all know
mhm,
that.
mhm,
So taking the moment to have that breath and then
mhm,
have another breath,
mhm,
maybe even another breath, where you haven't had one thought whatsoever to come back
mhm,
to a center of self, that
mhm,
everything else around is also just a story,
mhm,
that your story can be created to the validity of what you represent it as. And fear is always going to be there because that
mhm,
is of the egotistical mind. Because
mhm,
we've all had situations where things have arisen in the past. So
mhm,
therefore we plant it as a seed in the future that it can happen again. We
mhm,
can still do that with the most positive intention without it
mhm,
talking about in the negative.
mhm,
I'm not fearful, I'm fearless, but
yeah.
I am prepared for what might arrive to what
Mhm,
I know. And that's all that we can do.
mhm. I
But
think we should create this scenario that change is inevitable. It is happening all the time. Whether you are going to make the change or you just avoid it, life is going to make the changes for you. So it is better that you should make the change for yourself. So that's how you would have the control over the changes instead of letting the life and other circumstances to make the changes for you. That's how I think we can manage the fear.
yeah, well, I think it's just have control.
Mhm,
It is to remain within the control
mhm,
of your design
mhm,
and knowing that if it's the truest of intent,
mhm,
then it's going to push against the grain of existence.
mhm,
Okay? Because under the truest intent, you've measured the actual love and peace element within all of that
mhm,
creation to bring it to
mhm,
other people so then they can be part of it. So that's within everything. Everything's got a
mhm,
marketable space. Everything in
mhm,
its design is for
mhm,
you to shine in your
mhm,
own story. It's how far
mhm.
you want to take it.
Yeah,
But
Jack.
if you actually embrace the change of what's
Mhm,
happening,
mhm,
you then appreciate how magnificent
mhm,
you are when you are going through this experience.
mhm.
Because
Jackie
you
is
can see
Jack.
where conflict is going to arise, and then you can actually dilute it,
Mhm,
not divide it, but control it.
mhm,
And it's then an expectation of self to push to that perimeter every time when that does arrive.
mhm.
We got
So we
Jackie
have a
open.
Yes,
Yeah,
Jackie is here live with us, and she
there
just
you go. Hello,
commented that,
Jackie.
yeah, hey Jackie, if you are still there, embrace it no matter how fearful. Step out of the comfort zone, and it is then no longer fear. Yeah, we have. I think we have just covered the topic. We have just covered it. That the comfort zone. We are accustomed to our lives, our a life of comfort zone, and when it comes to get out of the comfort zone, then the conflict and scary feelings and the fear factor, it gets involved, and that's what we are dealing with. That you have to take the fear, you have to take the breath, and then the other breath, and then move with the flow.
Well, yeah.
Mhm,
And stop using the words of fear and stuff like that.
mhm,
Communicate in a different way to
mhm,
establish that you have no limitations.
mhm,
Yeah, you're malleable through this. You're not
mhm,
rigid in the space
mhm,
of a statue that can fall. You are
mhm,
playing as part of the game, and you are
mhm,
recognizing your part within the game. Now,
mhm,
if it's working from an element of greed, if it's working from an element of anything that is divisive on humanity, it's not going to work anymore. So then expect that the change that you are wanting, the change
mhm.
that you are striving to, is going to be that much more harsh because you've not considered the value of why you're going through change in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting that change is going to happen anywhere, and if you're not going to make the change, then it is going to be very harsh. And what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts, my final
Mm-hmm,
thoughts, the expectation of what we can put upon ourselves
mm-hmm,
is needs to be considered as
mm-hmm,
valuable to our identity.
mm-hmm,
And our identity is
mm-hmm,
something that we do not need to.
mm-hmm.
You still there?
Uh,
I
I
just
think yes, I'm still here. Your phone was
yeah,
just
I just had the
flipped
phone ring.
around. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Um,
okay.
okay, let me start again. Let me start again.
Mm-hmm,
My final thoughts on fear and change. Change of
mm-hmm,
fear. Change
mm-hmm,
with fear, change of life. Okay, let's just talk
mm-hmm,
about change of life as a final. That
mm-hmm,
we have we have so much that we do
mm-hmm,
every day,
mm-hmm,
and thinking about it, we breathe. And then when we do breathe, we just still carry the same story. Slow
Mm-hmm.
it down and appreciate what a breath is, firstly, to then
Mm-hmm.
coincide with where you have arrived. Assimilate. And when I say assimilate, come to the very oneness of your own unique story. There's
Mm-hmm.
many people who can help you find that.
Mm-hmm. And
Geez, this
thank you.
is
And
ringing.
you have to assimilate with the change. And I think your phone
You've
is
got to assimilate
consistently ringing.
to the worthiness of self.
Yes,
Assimilate to you are love. Firstly, you are
yes.
a love. You are loved. You are loved. You are all of that.
Mhm. Yes, give it's about the admiration and appreciating yourself and letting go of the negative thoughts. And those negative thoughts are your limitations. And I think we have discussed a lot. We have covered many things in a very short time. And thank you, Adrian, for joining us. And thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Jackie, for your comments. And very true, so many words are just limitation. Indeed.
Correct.
And
Correct.
yes, if you have
Thank
any
you.
questions, just leave it in the comment box below. I'll answer it to you. Adrian would get back to you as soon as he can. And yeah, thank good day, good night, good afternoon,
Good night.
wherever you are.
Love you, brother.
Yes. Love
Thank
you
you.
too, my brother. Yes.
See ya.
Thank you. See
Bye.
ya.